2x2, 7 rows deep.
And rolling up to the start-finish line. It looks like Asher going a little bit off track as the inside.
As they can. Saber making an amazing dive into turn 1, and electroshocks off. Eggful gets the move.
But MNU trying to take a move.
Big contact from 5 different punches.
Big incident with Snowdog, our leader.
As we head into turn row, it's a big crash. It's a big crash between the two title contenders.
It's a new sim, new cars, and a new series for our Simufur drivers as we go under the lights in the desert for the first round of the Simufur Hypercar Championship at the Bahrain International Circuit. Hi everyone, I'm Kady Timberfox. I'm joined in the booth today by MNU, and our broadcast, as always, is supported by Denak. So, pretty unfamiliar territory for most of our drivers today. How are you feeling ahead of our first ever full series in Le Mans Ultimate, MNU?
I don't really know how to feel. This has been quite a train wreck during, the whole configuration phase, as we had to go through all the quirks and things from LMU, but I hope that's going to be a good season.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's going to be a very good season, just considering the fact that there's so many of our drivers, this is a brand new game for them. Some of them have just bought the game basically for this series, and hypercars are a different beast for sure than our typical fare here of GT3s. Much less sort of driver assists. So we'll get into that as we sort of get into our practice sessions here. Our drivers are loading in at the moment. But another thing that I think might be a little bit different for us is that we're at Bahrain, which is not typically featured in a lot of sim racing titles as we get to track shots here. I think a lot of people are really familiar with this track from like Formula One, for example. It's been this track has been hosting F1 since 2004, and it's been hosting the World Endurance Championship since 2012 with the 8 hours of Bahrain. We're not driving 8 hours today. We're only driving 1, so that'll be good at least. 15 turns, 3.3 miles, 5.4 kilometers. And really, if you haven't played the F1 game, you might have a lot of familiarity with the track itself, but you might not really know how to drive it. And it does have some little technical quirks that could catch some drivers out potentially. This to me is kind of one of the quintessential telcodromes, generally understood as kind of a derogatory term as we see our drivers going out on track now for their outlaps. But this is probably my favorite of these sort of like West Asian petrostate circuits. There's a good amount of elevation change in the second and third sectors, despite being in the desert. Lots of technical like mid and high speed sections, a few really, really tricky braking zones, especially down into the infamous turn 10, where you're kind of braking and also turning left and also going downhill into a decreasing radius corner. And in these cars, you might not even see the apex as you're trying to turn into it. So you kind of have to do it all by feel. So they're going to have to be really committed on the brakes and have a lot of trust in the car if they want a good lap time. It's tough. I don't blame you. Like you would think that it would be, pretty tame in a lot of ways, but I think there's a lot that can kind of catch you out if you're not careful. It looks like it's kind of just a bunch of hairpins connected by straights, but no, there's a lot to this track when you get onto it. Lots of different overtaking opportunities as well, which is one of the reasons that I really like it. As we're riding on board with the eShark Toyota, I believe this is. So yeah, we're going to be going through. We're going to see a lot of different manufacturers out on track today, which is really, really nice to see. It's one of the reasons why I really like this format of car. It's just there's so many different ways that you can build a hypercar that manufacturers have discovered, and they're all very, very close together in terms of competitive.
Especially with the LMDHs, which is technically another class. It's not the same class, but also the same class. It's really weird. But yeah, no, that's really weird.
It is a little bit weird. Yeah, so just like to clarify on that for folks who aren't really familiar with endurance racing, as we're on board with Jordan here on the helicopter cam, heading on through sector 1 at the moment in the Lamborghini SC63, one of those LMDHs that we were talking about. Those are Le Mans Daytona hybrids, as opposed to the Le Mans Hypercars, which are the LMHs. There are very, very slight differences between the two in terms of the amount of hybrid power that they can deploy and things like that. But for the most part, they're fairly the same profile. They look pretty similar. These were introduced into the World Endurance Championship in 2021, but 2023 was when it really, really exploded, when you had the LMDH category join along with the LMHs, which the LMDHs also run in the IMSA Sports Car Championship over in North America. So these cars race all over the world. They're the top flight of endurance racing across the world. And they are just wonderful to drive. They've exploded in manufacturer growth, in fan popularity. They've really ushered in what a lot of people consider sort of a new golden age in endurance racing. So they are hybrid powered for the most part. There are a few exceptions. The Aston Martin, for example, is not hybrid powered, but the vast majority of them are. And fans of F1 at this point are very, very familiar with hybrid powered race cars, but as we get into our full course yellow practice in a few seconds here. There we go, slowing on down. We're using the same system that we were using for the Code 50s in our previous series, as I think we're having some broadcast difficulties, so we'll get back to that in a little bit. We're gonna get some track shots here while I continue to talk about hypercars, which is yeah. So they've exploded a lot in growth and popularity. They are hybrid powered, but instead of using the hybrid for extra speed, they're used for fuel efficiency instead. So, which you can imagine is probably really important in endurance racing. So, turning up the electrical power, the deployment is not going to make you go any faster, but it is going to mean that the engine has to work a little bit less hard, and you use a little bit less fuel as a result. So our drivers are going to have to sort of balance that along with the limited electronic assistance that they require. No anti-lock braking systems in here, so they'll need to be really, really confident and precise on the left foot to avoid lockups. So it's going to be really, really different compared to sort of what they're used to. But these cars still have the opportunity to race really close to each other, to make some really good overtakes, especially around a track like this. And I'm excited to see them unleashed.
Oh yes, especially I don't know if we raced a lot around Bahrain. I think that's quite a new track for almost everyone on the grid.
Yeah, basically not at all, right?
Yeah, not at all, because it's not on ACC. I think it is on iRacing, but I'm not sure we've raced on this on iRacing. And I mean, it's technically only in LMU. Technically, with a little bit
LMU, and like if you've played an F1 game, which that's going to feel a lot different from from this game. This is definitely on the more simulation side of racing sims versus F1, which I think most people consider to be a little bit more arcadey. It's definitely still you do have to do quite a bit in terms of making sure that you're not locking up or snapping the rear or anything like that. But definitely it's going to be, I think most of the lap time is probably going to just come down to how comfortable the drivers are in the car, whatever car that they've picked. and just how much pace that they're going to be able to extract, how much they feel like they're going to be able to commit. And I'm actually learning now that the Bahrain is actually not completely new to us here at F1 because here at Simufur, because we did have an F1 league apparently back in 2021. That was before I was here, and that first round was actually at Bahrain. It's been a pretty common season opener in F1. It's not the season opener anymore, but for a while it did serve that role as we're riding with the one of the newest entries into the World Endurance Championship, as well as into Le Mans Ultimate. This car's about, 2 weeks old in this sim right now. This is the Aston Martin Valkyrie of Inigo Lopez making its way around the track right now. This is one of those cars, as we mentioned, that is actually not hybrid powered. I think, in fact, it might be the only one on our grid today that isn't hybrid powered. But in exchange for that, you do get the magnificent V12 engine in the back of that car. It sounds incredible. It might not be very fast. It hasn't been doing super great in its first outings in real life. But the folks at the Aston Martin factory are very pleased with the amount of progress that they've made in this season. It's received some balance of performance to give it a little bit of a leg up so that it's not running on the back of the grid constantly. And it's actually kind of getting to the point where it's feeling a little bit competitive. So definitely a lot more progress has been made with that car over the course of the season, and that's pretty typical of spinning up a hypercar program. These are incredibly complicated pieces of machinery, and it takes manufacturers a long time to really understand how they work. They're almost as technically complex as an F1 car to build from. And again, you're doing it from the ground up. You have no reference or any sort of production vehicle that you're basing this thing on, except in the case of the Aston Martin Valkyrie. I think that there is actually a road-going version of the Valkyrie that they base this car on, but it's still very different from that version of it.
So here we go on our qualifying session for 30 minutes, an open qualifying session for everyone to go and play.
Go and play. Go and try to figure out what you're doing around here, because definitely it's going to take at least a couple of laps to really get up to speed at this point. This is Robbie Kelly in the number 25 Ferrari 499P. This is the current real-life championship leader in the World Endurance Championship. This car has been absolutely dominant. The last 2 seasons, really, for being honest. It's a multiple-time Le Mans winner. It's won the vast majority of the races this season. Not this particular car, although this particular car did take overall Le Mans glory, the yellow number 83 here. You might notice that the number plates do not quite match up with the numbers that our drivers have selected. That is because some of them are using default liveries, which this is the livery used for the privateer 499P entry in real life. So that is the number 83, even though Robbie Kelly himself is number 25 as we head on board here for the first lap. It's a really long straight here down to turn 1. The car is going to get all the way up to 7th gear. And I really like that we have the ability to see the driver inputs here as RK is looking for that 150 board. Very hard on the brakes. You can be really aggressive on the brakes in the Ferrari. It's very good at that. Through turn 2 and turn 3 here, you're just trying to stay on the power as much as you can. Make sure that you can get a good run on down to turn 4. You're looking for that access road off to the side, and then you're all the way down to 2nd gear. Some of them might even be into 1st gear. And a really wide exit here means you can get on the power quite quickly. Little bit of a dab on the brakes here for this little mid-speed complex here. Really squirrely there for RK there, but manages to catch the car. And we're down into 1st gear for this hairpin on down into turn 8 and then turn 9 and 10 coming up. This is the one that we were talking about. You got to really know what you're doing around here. You're looking for that white line that sort of points to the apex and tries to guide you to it. It's pretty much all by feel once you're down into there because you can't see the apex from where you're going. And RK managed to get that one down pretty good, it looked like. All the way down to 2nd here for turn 11. We're on into the third sector now. This is the sort of uphill high-speed section where you can't quite hold the gas all the way around, but you kind of want to give it a little bit of a lift, and then downhill braking again into that final corner there onto the back stretch. And we're heading on down, and it's going to be the 100 right around there, basically right when that curbing starts. Down to second again, and again you've got a really, really wide exit here, so you can just keep it to the left side of the track as much as you can. And that is a lap around Bahrain. Looked fairly tidy. There were a couple of incredibly squirrely moments around there. That's a 45.8 from Robbie Kelly. That's quite a good time. We've seen some times get a little bit lower than that, but honestly not very many.
That was quite a fast lap as well, I think. I've been in a few practice sessions with the other guys that are racing at the moment, and I think that's one of the best time I've seen overall, with almost everyone else doing 47s. And as you may have seen during the onboard, RK had 100% energy at the start, which is, you know, kind of weird to begin with, but that's because RK uses setup. So what the setup does is that it puts the energy to 100%, but I don't know how it's called anymore. The fuel ratio is put all the way down to, I think 12, 13, depending on the car, it depends. And so that's why the energy is so high. But they are racing, they are doing the qualifying with actually, like, I think less than 15 liters of fuel.
Yeah, pretty minimal fuel. Energy there that we're referring to is the virtual energy, of course, that is loaded into these cars because they are hybrid powered. The FIA needed a way to basically figure out how do we account for the fact that the car is using two different sources of energy at the same time. And so they sort of came up with this abstract concept of virtual energy as Sarah Embers goes off the track there in the graffitied BMW there. I really, really love that livery. But the virtual energy is sort of a combination of, it's not necessarily a combination of, it's more that it doesn't really care where the energy is coming from. All it's doing is measuring the amount of energy that's being expended to move the car forward at a certain axle, and it limits the amount of energy that you can use. So depending on how much fuel that you have in the car, you might actually run out of virtual energy before you run out of fuel. And if that happens to you and you're still circulating while you have no virtual energy, that's very bad. You will get time penalties for every lap that you go beyond your virtual energy allotment. You can kind of think of it as like a fuel allowance per stint, and our drivers will need to refuel at some point during this race. It will not last them all the way to the end, so they are going to have to come into the pits and make that happen. We've seen some other times coming in here. Looks like Jordan Johnson is the only one within a second of RK's 45.7, which has now come down from that initial 45.8. And we have quite a few cars that are sort of in that 1 to 2 second range, and then from there the times sort of go a little bit further up. But definitely a lot more of a spread of lap times than we've seen in the GT3s, which definitely is to be expected given the sort of increased skill ceiling really on these cars, as Luis gets a little bit of a lockup there into that penultimate corner there.
Quite surprised as Jordan Johnson has put the Lamborghini up to second, which is quite surprising because the Lamborghini is known in real life to not be that fast when it was in WEC. It's doing pretty fine in IMSA at the moment, but it's clearly not one of the meta cars, because one of the meta cars at the moment in the game is the Ferrari, and there's also the Toyota, but this is Toyota is Toyota.
We are seeing a lot of Ferraris on the grid for sure. It's been a popular one. I think this might be our only ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄOʀᵉ,
Yes.
a manufacturer that probably not very many people are familiar with. We've been tossing around names like Ferrari and Toyota and Lamborghini, things that people know. This is a sort of bespoke racing outfit, from what I understand. They basically just build race cars. They spun up a hypercar program in 2024, circulated at the back of the grid for basically the entire season, and then shut it down. But the car lives on in Le Mans Ultimate, and it's actually been a pretty decent pick for quite a few of our drivers around here. It tends to be fairly beginner friendly, from what I understand, and honestly, it just looks fantastic. I think it really has that sort of traditional LMP Le Mans prototype silhouette on it, which I think a lot of people really appreciate, compared to something like this Porsche 963 that we're riding in the helicopter with for Luis Gordon here, who is circulating, I believe, has maybe not put in a time yet. I can't see, as there's a Porsche perpendicular to the track there, the Procon Porsche. So that's going to cause Luis to have to back out of that one, and they're going to have to go around again.
Talking about the ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄOʀᵉ, since we were talking about the ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄOʀᵉ earlier, it's one of the, you said it's one of the beginner cars. I've tried it. It's really one of the beginner cars, mainly because it has a pretty good grip around the corners. It's very easy to, just trail brake around the corners. It's like the car just naturally turns without losing some rear, for example, as with the Peugeot, because the Peugeot, you drive it like you have no rear. Even with the rear wing, it's really weird. But yeah, even in this ᵐnUn𝒹ₑ lives on. Long live the ᵐnUn🎧.
Long live it. I think that was a little bit too much corner there on turn 10 for JPEG, so they are going to have to go around again to try to make sure that they get a valid time here. The track cut system here in LMU is actually pretty good. You can cut the track a fair amount as long as the game detects that you give the time back before you sort of rejoin the track proper. So there's, even if our drivers go off track very slightly, they might be able to keep their foot in and be able to still get a valid lap out of it, which can be very, very helpful, especially if you're sort of down in the sort of like 5, 6, 7 range, and you're just trying to find your rhythm around here and try to find the time. Fabio heading into the sort of turn 1 complex here, I believe. That was a very, very big slide from the number 7 Toyota there, so that was going to lose them quite a bit of time, I think. But yeah, I think we've been seeing the times come down a little bit. Nobody's been able to touch that 45.7 yet. In fact, nobody else has been able to touch the 45s at all. Everybody else is in that sort of 46, 47 range as it stands right now. So Arke looking fantastic up there in P1 at the moment.
It's like, oh, Luis just has done a lap that managed to maybe catch Arke a little bit, but still not quite that fast. Arke that we see on screen at the moment that struggles to even match his lap, apparently.
Yeah, it's really, really tough, and is Arcade getting a little bit of a toe from this? Maybe. I mean, I honestly am not sure if they're gonna want to like keep circulating. I don't know if they're gonna be able to beat that initial 45.7. Obviously, they think that they're able to beat it because they're still out there, and there's still a good amount of time left in this session. We got 18 minutes left, so there's a little bit of trouble there between the Ferraris. It looks like things getting a little bit hairy out on track right now. We do have a lot of cars circulating right now because our qualifying 30 minutes here is not being split up by driver class. In fact, I don't know if we're actually tracking driver class for this series. I believe everybody is competing directly with each other. So it's definitely led to some little moments on track here and there, and it's mostly going to be about drivers just being able to find clear air around here and be able to get their hypercar in a good position to get in that top 10.
No, we're not tracking the classes for this specific season. Maybe next season, we don't know yet, we're not sure yet. But it's mainly because of the lack of knowledge around like experience of the other drivers, because we've seen some drivers driving ACC quite a lot and then not driving any other sims, whereas some other drivers have been driving LMU quite a lot and then not driving ACC a lot. So we have to reset things at some point, and it's quite a shame that everyone has to fight for the same position since there's no classes, but also it gives a second chance to everyone because, well, there's no classes.
Yeah, totally. If you're really feeling yourself around Bahrain today, you can be fighting with folks who aren't typically in your class. I think that looked like a Valkyrie off track there at the moment, trying to rejoin. It looks like, and also just trying to get out of the way of these two Peugeots here. Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of some default liveries, some custom liveries that folks have made. Custom liveries, of course, a very recent feature on LMU, and one that is typically locked behind certain subscriptions to the game. So definitely not everybody has access to that, which is fine because a lot of the default liveries here do look fantastic, like the one on this Alpine here. I do quite like it. I like the way that car looks, although a lot of people don't really like the way that it drives, apparently, because it does tend to be quite snappy. The Lamborghini, another one sort of in the LMDH family that tends to be quite snappy on the brakes and a little bit unstable. But Jordan Johnson has been liking it quite a bit, apparently, is able to use that instability to their advantage to be able to get up into third right there. But Alfonso up in P2 now in the Toyota has managed to usurp them for the front row at the moment. We'll see if that changes further on down this qualifying session. We're just about halfway through right now, so thankfully I think the advantage of having the long session here is that you get plenty of time to find your rhythm and get a good lap time, which otherwise you really wouldn't be able to if you only had 10 minutes.
Yes, I'm also looking at the standings a little bit. I would say unsurprisingly, but I think that would be a little bit too harsh for the Astons. The Astons are quite low. I think the highest ranked Aston is P18, which is, it's surprising, but also not quite surprising. It's a new car. Everyone has to get it up to speed, even with custom setups and everything. But it's quite, I don't know. It looks difficult to drive. I've driven it around Monza, but Monza is a track where you go straight, basically. There's almost no fast. I mean, there's ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄOʀᵉ, which is quite fast, but still, it's a car that's very heavy on the rear because of the V12, I guess. So it's kind of slidey. It's quite a slow car, maybe.
Yeah, it seems like it tends to be, and definitely not having access to the hybrid power does mean that they have to carry a little bit more fuel than the rest of the cars, and that will also slow them down quite a bit, depending on what exactly your fuel load is. That doesn't matter too much here for qualifying, but it could come into play later in the race as we're continuing on board here with Inigo Lopez, one of the aforementioned Valkyrie drivers. It still sounds great, and that's what matters.
It's still a very good-looking car, I gotta say.
It looks so good.
It's so bad. I mean, it's such a shame that they have such a good-looking car. Even the road version is absolutely stunning. But it's such a shame that they have this whole package. Very stunning car, sounds absolutely awesome, but struggles almost everywhere because, as you said, it doesn't have any electrical package in it. It's all fuel, and so it's such a shame. And there's the Peugeot in P70, but the Peugeot is another story.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the sort of winged version of this car, which in 2023 when it was introduced, it did not have a rear wing. There's a lot of interpretation that you can do of the Hypercar rule set, which is kind of intentional by the FIA. It's one of the reasons why the manufacturer popularity has been so high, is because there are many different ways to build a hypercar. And one of those is that you are mandated to have a maximum of one adjustable large aerodynamic surface on the car. Every other hypercar in 2023 and since then has decided that they wanted their adjustable element to be the rear wing, but the 2023 Peugeot wanted to make an adjustable front splitter, so they did that, and that meant that they spin over in P21, JPEG off the track there, but that meant that they did not have an adjustable rear wing. So instead of having a rear wing at all, they just got rid of it entirely and built the car's aerodynamics around just trying to direct the air as much as possible around that front splitter. It was a really, really innovative design at the time, and people were really interested in seeing how it was going to perform. It ended up performing not too great, and in 2024 they went to the sort of more traditional rear wing setup, and that's tended to be a lot more successful for them. But still, I think that's a really good example of just the way that you can interpret this rule set. It leaves a lot of room for different engine layouts, different sort of front aerodynamic assemblies and rear aerodynamic assemblies. You can really do a lot with this.
And as I see at the moment, ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄOʀᵉ, which is P7 in a Porsche, that got a stop and go in qualifying. What does that mean for the race? I'm not sure, because that never happened to me. It's quite difficult to say that.
I think it should clear the penalties before you get into the race session. That is my hope. I don't think that Sarah should start with a drive-through penalty. I don't think that's going to happen. That would be really tough. But I think it was that if it was a stop and go, it was probably just that she ran out of virtual energy on the track somewhere, or you know. Actually, I think that's really the only thing that it would give that to you for. So, Sierra here in that 2023 layout Peugeot that we were just talking about. You can see the lack of the rear wing here, and this car almost looks weird to me now. like it doesn't look right, but it's it looks like it's damaged in some way. But nope, that's how it's supposed to look. And in LMEO, it actually tends to do fairly well. I think it's on some tracks it can actually be faster than the 2024 version, especially in a straight line. Not having all of that drag at the rear of the car does tend to help with that, but definitely tends to suffer through the corners, as you can see there. Sierra taking it a bit wide through turn 10. We're going to see a lot of that during the race for sure.
I don't think it suffers the same issues as the IRL car. If I remember correctly, it went pretty bad at Sebring because, since the car doesn't have a rear wing, it needs to have a lot of pressure under the whole car. And since Sebring is a pretty bumpy car, the Peugeot struggled to keep that pressure under the car, to keep the car, glued down to the track. I don't think LME does that, but it would be pretty interesting to see on Sebring how this kind of Peugeot, the 2023 version, how fast does it go? Does it manage to keep its, does it manage to keep being glued to the track?
Yeah, definitely. Floor aerodynamics are very, very complicated to simulate, so I think this game forgoes that in favor of a more simplified sort of undercarriage simulation that doesn't tend to affect the aerodynamics of the car too much, as here is checking it a little bit through the through turn 2 and 3 there. Vossi here in the Proton Porsche 963. Heading on down through, I believe this looks like sector 2. This is like turn 10 right here. Looked to take a pretty good apex there. That looked pretty tidy there. There's a car off in the background, it looked like. Has now teleported off the racetrack. But we're seeing some of our typical sort of championship contenders floating to the top here. RK up in first, Jordan Johnson in second, or in third. And Newt up there in fourth as well. That's a very good time from them. I'm not sure. There's no manufacturer logo there. I'm not sure what they're driving. I believe they're driving the Alpine, but I don't. It doesn't see it. I don't see it right there. But yeah, the times are getting a little bit closer together. Sarah in P7 is currently fighting with Alexander van der Voort for P6 there. Their times are very, very close together, just about a sixth between them. Let's see if Vasi can improve on this lap time. It doesn't look like it's going to be an improvement right now. I don't think it was. That was a 49.1, so they're going to have to go around again. We got 7 minutes left, so not too much time left for our drivers at the moment. But Sarah in P7, one of our more experienced hypercar drivers, has done a couple of championships outside of Simufur in that Porsche 963, so I imagine that she'll be quite comfortable in it. But everybody else still kind of getting to grips here.
As we see Christian Clipper going around the track, trying to still beat RK, which is, you know, RK. Did you know RK has beaten his time again? He
45.5, yeah.
Faster. How? How does he do that? That's C-Sport. I think that's C-Sport times. I'm not sure.
It's
But
close.
That's the Ferrari. That's the Ferrari. Still one of
Ferrari
the
will do that.
Yeah.
Ferrari is very, very strong with brakes, for sure.
Yeah.
It's probably stronger than any other. And the LMHs do tend to be very strong on the brakes because it's a quirk of the way that the hybrid system works in an LMH versus an LMDH. And I know that we're getting into very complicated technical stuff here, but the hybrid in the LMHs drives the front wheels, while in the LMDH it drives the rear wheels. So, and the same system that deploys the energy will also harvest it under braking, which is how these cars sort of regain energy over time. They brake, and that heat energy from the braking gets transformed via black magic. I have no idea how hybrids work, but it gets transformed back into electrical energy, which is then put back into the battery, and they get to go again. And because it's on the front wheels for the LMHs, and most of the braking force is generated on the front, they tend to be really, really solid on the brakes because they have that extra help from the hybrid getting the car to slow down.
I mean, it's also a little bit of a downside, because if we look forward to the race, especially T1, you know, the dreaded T1, especially on Bahrain, it's quite a steep T1. It can be quite a downside because braking with a full battery causes the car to lock up significantly, and so, you know, it might lead up to some issues, if you see what I mean.
Oh, definitely. If the battery's at 100% and there's no way to harvest any energy, you lose all of that braking power, and suddenly the car will just snap for basically no reason. So hopefully that doesn't happen to anyone. There's a couple of different quirks in hybrid system that people will have to watch out for, because these are sort of the most accurate incarnation of hypercars in sim racing at the moment, as you would expect from the official game of the World Endurance Championship. They have all of the quirks of the real life cars, including for the LMDHs when they get out of that's a little bit wide there for Kalmari in the BMW. They do have the LMDHs do the full 100% hybrid start. They will launch from their pit boxes entirely under electrical power, and then the engine will fire up once they're up to the pit lane speed limit. So, if you don't have any battery in the car, and you pull into your pit box, you're not going to be able to launch, and the car's just going to stay there. It's going to get beached, and your race is going to be over. So so for the LMDHs, they need to make sure that they have a lot of energy going into the pits. For the LMHs, they have to make sure that their battery doesn't hit 100%, at least not before a big braking zone. There's a lot of fiddling with dials and stuff that you need to do to maximize as much as you can from the hybrid. You're sort of switching between lower and higher deployment settings to try to keep the battery at a consistent level throughout the entire race. So it's just another element that they have to deal with, and a little bit Formula One-esque in a way, where if you watch an F1 onboard, they're fiddling with dials all the time for almost every single corner. It's not that bad for these cars, but they are still going to have to do it quite a bit.
As we see Sarah going around the track in the, I think, Oh no, I was about to say it's the only BMW, but no, it's not the only BMW. As we see, we're going down the first straight.
Second straight here, as we're heading into what, turn 4 right here. That's the over to the left is the turnoff for the outer circuit. We stay on the Grand Prix circuit around here. This is looking pretty solid through this section for the BMW. It's getting pretty squirrely around here, but if you can control that squirreliness, it is faster to slide the car around a little bit, get the rear a little bit loose and get a little bit more rotation out of it. God, I just... No one has done a better livery than this, I swear. It's just, it's incredible.
It looks perfect. It doesn't look as good as the Aston, because, you know, I love the Aston. But still, it is a very good looking livery. And the BMW is a very good looking car as well. It still has that nose, you know. Oh, as
got that big sniffer.
Track.
Yeah, that's definitely off track.
I think
off into the gravel.
Yes. So we see JPEG going through T1, T2, and T3 going on the second straight. I'm not going to do the same mistake here.
I mean, it's really kind of if you're an F1 watcher, they combine the DRS zones for these two straights, so it's really kind of all one thing. But definitely you have that braking down into turn 1, which is that'll slow the car down quite a bit. So JPEG is continuing on here through sector 1 on into this little hairpin here. That looked a little bit wide there, but sometimes a wider line can be a little bit better through that one. There's a lot of different interpretations of lines that you can take around Bahrain, given that the track is so wide, and that sort of is one of the things that really helps with the overtaking around here. So I think once we get into the race, we'll be seeing a lot of overtaking action. So 30 seconds left. Anybody crossing the line right now is going to be on their very last lap, including Jordan Johnson here, who is still up into P2, has overtaken Alfonso for that P2 position and is trying to improve it in the twilight hours of this session here. I don't think anybody's going to get remotely close to RK here, but it will be interesting to see just how close they get.
I don't know how much time RK is in, but he's even doing his quali laps anymore. He's just in the pits. He's just
sitting there.
In the pits. He's just sitting there.
I set my time and I'm good.
Yes, it's a power move.
Fantastic.
It's just, as we see Jordan Johnson from the first hairpin through T8, trying to keep that car under control, or pressing the throttle to go fast into T9, and then the other hairpin, T10.
That looked very tidy.
Yeah, it's quite a difficult turn if you don't have to turn in.
Yeah, it looks like Jordan's about 0.2 of a second off of the P1 time through sector 1. We'll get a sector 2 time any second here, as they're sort of heading onto the back a little bit here. That's 0.3 down, but that's still going to be a personal best for Jordan. So he will get a little bit closer to that time, as the two Ferraris in front look to be fighting a little bit for position here, as Jordan gets through the final corner here. That might have been a little bit too much on that corner, but Jordan will obviously keep their foot in and just hope that the game doesn't give them an invalid lap time, and that ends up being the fastest time for them, but it's only a 46.2, so still 0.7 off of RK's time. That is significant.
Lewis that had cancelled his lap. So yeah, P2 is confirmed for Plasma, and then P3 for Cerebine. I think everyone is in their box, so we might have, we might be onto the waiting time now, as we are waiting for the race session to take over,
as well as our results. Aha, here we are. So RK up in first there with that 45.5, incredible time if they can go that fast in the race, they'll have no trouble taking this one home. Jordan Johnson in P2, Luis Alfonso in P3, and Nicholas Zahn are the first of our sort of 1 second gap times there up into P4. We got a pretty good, solid top 10 there. Vossi up in P11, Kamil Zhirajek in P12, and then Callum Mooney, our previous silver champion from our previous series, as well as Sierra up there, who I think recently got a promotion from AM after our last series, so definitely sort of proving their position there. And then our back runners, Zazors didn't end up getting a time, and neither did Eduardo Alvarez. So Jesper Swingley is the last of our timed runners, I should say, up there with a 50 something, I think, if I'm doing that math right.
So we are maybe going to go on the grid. I'm seeing RK already popping up on the grid with Jordan Johnson, that is confirmed P2, and then with P3, as Kady said. We are looking forward to this race, which is the Formation Lab is starting in 2 seconds. And we are going to see the cars going away, with P1 going away at 60 kph.
Oh, do we have a short lap? I think we have a short formation lap here.
It is,
so
it is a short formation.
Okay, it's gonna be really hard to get through the grid walk here, but it's RK in first, Jordan Johnson in second, Luis Alfonso in P3, Nicholas Zahn in P4. We might have to back out of this, honestly. I'm not sure if we're gonna be able to get everything done. Adrian Newton, the Alpine in P5, and Parker Olsen in the Ferrari in P6 there. Row 4, we've got Alexander Vanderwood in P7 in the Alpine, and Sarah Van Fiepel in there in P8 in the Porsche. Will be looking to improve upon her position there. And we're going to be cutting off the track walk at this point, because we are about to go green here at the Bahrain International Circuit under the lights. That's quite okay. Our drivers are getting on their pit speed limiter, trying to just take the formation lap as cleanly as they can here. And once we go green, they will simply get off of the pit lane, as we are already up into the green flags. We're seeing jockeying for position up into P2 and P3. They're all over the road right now as they're jockeying for position. It looks like Jordan Johnson might be just a hair ahead of RK into P1. They're side by side still as they're going into P2 and P3, and it looks like Jordan is going to take that position off of RK. That was a fantastic move for the lead there, and RK is going to want to come back at any second here. Luis Alfonso up into P3 still, and it is as they run mostly in P4, P5, P6. Sarah Van Fiepelen is currently fighting for Tyler Van Beek for P7 at the moment, but RK, that was not the start that they would have wanted, and they're going to have to pass Johnson again if they want to unleash that pace that they've been seeing in qualifying.
Has been a pretty clean start overall. I think there wasn't any contact, but I'm still not sure about it. I guess we'll see it after the race. It was 2 on the booth. But honestly, no red flags, because there are no red flags in this session, but also no focus yellows. For a T1, that is quite good.
Folks being very, very careful in the hypercars. I think they're doing enough fighting the car to think about fighting each other in some cases. As the Toyota there taking a little bit of a look at the Peugeot there, and not quite finding the room, as the 2023 Peugeot, the Blue Shark, goes around the BMW there. Looks like into. I don't have any of the number reports up on these cars, unfortunately. It would have been really helpful to have those, but those are only on the 2025 spec cars, unfortunately. But it looks like it's going to be Peugeot, BMW, and Toyota, with the Aston Martin there fighting for P18. It looks like the Ferrari is going to get out in front, though, so that's going to be Nico Lopez back into 17th here for the rest of this race, and now they're just going to pretty much try to settle in. It looks like Jordan Johnson very, very close to RK again. I think they might have gone side by side there through turn 1 again, but Jordan manages to defend that position.
There's so many cars going on at the moment.
There's so many cars!
Yes, there's a lot of cars, as I see Coda getting a drive-through at the start. which I guess maybe for like quite a number of things. It could be for erratic driving, which I think is the most common cause of getting a drive-through at the start. But yeah, Koda got a DT, which has just cleared. Back to the top 3 we go, with ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄOʀᵉ in the Toyota, following RK very closely and maybe eyeing P1.
I mean, definitely. I think if you were Alfonso in this position, you would kind of want to try to just see how this battle is going to unfold out in front. If RK is going to be able to get back in front of the Lamborghini of Jordan Johnson here, and whether they're going to continue to fight with each other and potentially give you a chance for P2 or even the lead. So definitely Luis in a good position here. Just needs to stay close to that leading group up there, as ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄOʀᵉ is very, very close. Speaking of close, to the back of the Alpine of Alexander Van der Voort up there for the top 10 positions, as they've got the headlights on. They're fighting through at the moment, and we are heading on down to the last corner of the racetrack here. It doesn't look like it's going to be an opportunity for ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄ here, but if they can get a good exit, it didn't look like it was too fantastic there. That would be the main overtaking spot on this track, is into turn 1. You've got a couple of other chances in places like turn 4 and maybe turn 10 if you're feeling really spicy, or into that last corner especially. Just anywhere where there's a straight and a really slow part of the racetrack. That's really where you want to make it happen. But ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄ is doing a good job following very, very closely here. Could shake for a look at turn 4, but we'll see how that turns out. The 717 Ferrari of Fury April here up in P16 is currently chasing a 2023 spec Toyota for the top 15 at the moment.
Looks like everyone is slowly but surely getting into the grooves as the race started with tire warmers. I must add, to avoid any crash at T1, but that also ensures that everyone can get up to speed more quickly.
Right, exactly. In real life, of course, the tire warmers are banned. So if you are going into the pits for a fresh set of tires, which I don't believe, it depends on the tire strategy that our drivers are going for today, but I don't believe they should have to go in for a tire change in this race. It should just be a splash and dash for fuel, as Nick ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄ is getting quite close to the back of Tyler Van Beek. So it goes for a move, and that was way too late on the brakes. The Ferrari snaps out, and that is a significant spin. That's going to drop them down to 11th, 12th, and promotes ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄ up into P10. So everybody behind getting quite a boost from that. But yeah, going downhill there, that was a really, really sort of unconventional place to go for that overtake there. And I think they just thought that they had a little bit more of an overlap than they did.
That is heartbreaking for Niklas, which Niklas didn't grab damage, so it's fine. But yeah, that is heartbreaking. Back to RK we go, still following Plasma and ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄ, which is ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄ is behind, pretty close. But the fight at the moment, the eyes are all on RK and Plasma.
Yeah, at the moment, oh, big snap there from RK, just getting a little bit onto the sort of compacted sand there on the side of the racetrack. It almost looks like a solid surface, but it is sand, and it will catch you out if you're not careful. On down into turn 10 here at the moment. Looks pretty tidy from both of them at the moment. They're very, very similar on lap times in terms of race pace, which is not what we saw at all from qualifying. So RK turning on the qualifying pace, but might have to do a little bit more work to get this position back.
As we have ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄ also trying to join this little train of cars. ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄ, which is just behind. Yeah, he's just behind ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄ, less than a second, and maybe looking even for an overtake. He was pretty close through the straight, and as we see RK in front, maybe overtaking Plasma, trying to go for the switchback.
This is going to be RK's best chance of the race so far. Definitely, they're going to get a better exit out of here. Following very, 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 very close onto the back of that Lamborghini. Jordan is drifting towards the inside of the racetrack and is going to be trying to defend it. Kelly has to go to the outside here, and they're both on the brakes. Kelly out in front of just a little bit. Can they hold it around the outside here? They are going to hold it. They're still going to go side by side, and he's going to have to back out there through turn 2. That was a very, very high-speed part of the racetrack, and I don't think that 2 cars were going to fit through there. So Kelly just having to back out there, and they're going to have to try again, unfortunately. This is really, really good battle between these two.
I'm afraid that's gonna end in tears. Have you seen how hard they're fighting each other? With Plasma sometimes, you know, sliding a little bit because of that Lambo slidiness, which he likes. He drives the Audi on ACC, so he's kind of used to this slidiness. But I think that's gonna end in tears, honestly.
We'll see. I mean, it's been very, very respectful between the two of them so far. So, and RK doing a very good job not to bury their nose in the back of Jordan here, which can definitely happen in these cars, especially if you misjudge your braking and end up locking up. But definitely, it's going to be as they were. At least for the first little bit of this race here. We're not even 10 minutes in yet. We're just about 10 minutes in, but we're not even 10 minutes in, as the Alpine of Adrian Newt is still trying to stick as closely to the Toyota of Luis Alfonso as much as possible. We are seeing the tire graphic here. It looks like everybody is on that medium tire. That is pretty much as expected. That medium tire is designed to last for 2 full fuel stints before it needs to be replaced in a sort of more endurance format. So we do have a hard tire runner down in P23, which that's going to hold on to some more tire life, but they are going to lose quite a bit of grip from having that tire. As Robbie Kelly goes side by side again, is really, really favoring that outside line and is enjoying the amount of braking that they can get. Manages to just stick their nose in, and that's going to be an overtake for RK. I think Jordan just had to leave them a little bit more space there than they wanted. And I think RK might have to immediately defend here down into this turn. Jordan is going to go to the inside again. RK is going to be able to get on the power a little bit sooner. There's a little bit of contact between them, front bumper to rear bumper here, and they're still side by side through the mid-speed stuff. That is very, very dangerous, but RK is just going to manage to hold on to it. My goodness.
Very respectful racing as well, like very just rubbing all across the track, going left and right, but still not crashing into anyone basically. This is very respectful racing, as we see right behind ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄOʀᵉ. That's slowly catching up along with Newt, which is getting the slipstream of ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄOʀᵉ.
Yeah, I mean, you can see how much that little battle there, especially through the mid-speed stuff, slowed them down, and it brought these two right back into the fight as well. So it's really kind of a 4-horse race at this point now for P1 in this one. RK is not running away the way that we thought they would, although they might now be running away at this point because they've managed to pull out 7 tenths now nearly to Jordan Johnson, able to unleash a little bit of that qualifying pace now. So the battle might die down a little bit here, but it was a great effort from Jordan there, and we'll see how it works. Newt is on very, very low energy right now. I think they might not have changed their energy from qualifying, so they're going to have to come in for a very, very early pit stop. So it was either that or perhaps they could be on a different strategy, maybe like starting the race on low fuel and then filling up in the pits and then overtaking everybody while they're in open air. I'm making a very charitable read of that. I think probably what happened is they were just using their qualifying fuel, unfortunately. And apparently it seems to be a timing issue, apparently. So it is showing incorrect energy at the moment. So it shouldn't be a problem then for Newt, as they're going to be able to continue in this race.
Yeah, because at the moment Newt has the most amount of energy, I think, around, the top 10. Newt has 78% going on at the moment. So yeah, it is a timing issue going on at the moment. I'm going to give a little of a tire update from MNU. We have Lewis Gordon with hards and Koda now with hards. Koda had to pit not too long ago to get his I think, virtual energy up, and he is now doing a drive-through. I don't know why he got that drive-through, but I think it has to be with going a little bit too fast into the pit lane entry.
Yeah, most likely pit lane entry speed. That would be my guess as well. So Kody continuing to circle at the back of the track right now. Sarah up into P7. It's kind of quietly had a fairly good race here. Is still chasing that ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄOʀᵉ of Tyler Van Beek here for that P6 position. I would expect Sarah to be able to, if she can get around the next couple of cars, could be doing quite well in this one. Parker Olsen up there in P5, also within her sights, up there in the number 74 Ferrari. So, and then it's quite a gap, about 2 seconds to that front pack. So really, not too far from the lead of the race is Sarah, or not as much as you would think that she would be in P7. So. This front group here is still running quite close together, so it could be kind of mostly anyone's race at this point. I think Sarah could be on for a really good result here if she's able to sort of manage things correctly in here, which at this point, having some of the most experience with these cars out of the grid, I would expect her to be able to do that.
As we have news of Philippe Beckevold having to DNF the race due to technical issues, I'm seeing some other drivers staying into the pits, such as Cezes and Eduardo Alvarez. So yeah, we're getting quite a few drivers that I don't think can race anymore.
Yeah, seems to be at the moment. I think that that P24 there from Kody, I think, is our last place runner at this point. Out of the ones still circulating on track, we do have a pretty decent gap down to those two at this point. But for these cars up here, still mostly running Linus and Nicholson, trying to make up some positions from that spin earlier, is currently chasing down Zdrajek there in the Alpine for P11. Getting quite close actually to the back of them at this point, so you know, giving them the old headlight flash now at this point. So and it looks like Newt's in the pits as well.
Yeah, it looks like we already have some strategy thing going on. Started with Kody pitting. I don't know if that was for strategy, but now with Newt going into the pits, I don't think Newt has any damage to repair. So it's just doing the splash and dash now, so I can finish the race.
Yeah, really interesting way to do this. I mean, if you can get out into clear air in these cars, the cars are really sort of limited by aero slightly. You do get a little bit of dirty air running behind another car because they are, you know, quite aerodynamically sensitive. But you also get the advantage of just not having to fight any cars around you. So I think Newt is probably thinking that they might be able to get some kind of advantage here from being able to just circulate on their own, get in some nice lap times, and see if that they can jump you know, Alfonso down up in P3, or maybe even get closer to Jordan Johnson or Robbie Kelly, who is at this point 2 seconds up the road from Jordan, is now able to fully unleash the pace that we saw in qualifying, and looks to be scampering away at the moment as Zahn getting quite close to the back of the Alpine at this point. Probably doesn't want to shake for another move into this point. Ends up doing it anyway and manages to make the brakes work for them this time, as that's going to be up into P11 now. Or up into P10, excuse me.
Trying to get back his position, maybe even catching Ooh, okay. As I saw right behind, Cam is completely missing the braking point, the braking marker. And that was a weird move. Maybe, I don't know.
That looked like a very typical lockup to me. Was just trying to duck to the outside of the track to not just plow into the back of Zahn there, which can definitely happen if you lock up in these cars. You just kind of want to find any part of the racetrack where there's not a car in your way and just sort of point it over there when you're locking up, and that's going to flat spot their tires as well. So it's going to be a pretty tough stint for them for basically the rest of this one. The way that the tires work in this game, the flat spotting does hamper your ability to brake quite significantly, as every time the tire rotates onto that flat spot, it just wants to flat spot more and more and more. And it gets worse and worse and worse the more that you brake. So it's definitely sort of a self-compounding problem. So the best way to avoid it is to just not lock up in the first place. But easier said than done.
I mean, depending on the force feedback, it might be also quite heavy on the steering, if you see what I mean. As we follow Sarah being close to Chris. So Chris is P7, Sarah is P6. And they're doing pretty close times. And I don't know if someone's gonna come on top. Really, they are doing almost similar times, with maybe Chris going a little bit faster, but just a tiny bit faster.
Yeah, straight fight in Porsche machinery here. We get a look at the rear of the car and the front of the car as well. So definitely we'll see which one of them is going to end up out on top. Sarah is doing a pretty good job just circulating up in P6 right now. So definitely looks to be the slightly better Porsche at the moment, but definitely that number 236 of Christian Klippert is getting quite close at this point. I think was a little bit faster on that lap and is closing in at a pretty significant rate here. Is the gap's now down to 4/10 between them. So we'll see how this battle evolves through this part, as it looks like another Porsche off to that looks like a lapped car. It should be a lapped car. So they're going to have to try to let them through at the earliest convenience, which that wasn't a very, very great place to let them through. That was a pretty big lockup there from Christian. You could see the tire marks being laid down on the track as they were just trying to get around that back marker and also maybe try to shake for a move on Sarah, or just try to get as close as possible. And that traffic didn't really turn out too great for Sarah there, so she's going to have to defend a little bit harder on this lap.
It looks like it's going on well for the most of the drivers. It's mainly about consistency, especially in those cars that don't have ABS, as I said earlier. It's all about, knowing where to brake and, still being fast, because it's still a race, we gotta say, but it's still knowing how to brake, where to brake, as we see Nicholas following another Porsche, which is ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄOʀᵉ. Niklas, which is getting very close to ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄ.
Yeah, so I mean, making really good progress here so far from where they started on the grid, as we would probably expect. Nicholas was quite a bit faster in qualifying than most of these cars, so it's going to be Ferrari on Porsche here, LMH versus LMDH. So we can see sort of the relative strengths and weaknesses of each as we sort of go over the course of this battle. But ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄ has been doing a pretty good job defending, at least so far. Hasn't really needed to throw a really significant defensive shape, at least for the moment. But definitely ᵐnUn🎃ₛ is looking to get back up into those top positions as soon as possible, 20 seconds back from the leader, where they were only maybe a few seconds back at the time of that first incident. So has done quite a good job at this point. Goes to the outside a little bit, is just trying to get as much of a run as possible, maybe on down into turn 10, or probably would try to make it work into turn 11 would be where I would try to make this happen if I were driving the car, but I'm not driving the car. Nicholas is, and he can choose where to overtake wherever he wants. This is going to be really, really close here on this back straight. The gap opening up between them a little bit. It actually almost looks like that Porsche is a little bit better in a straight line as of right now.
I wonder if he's gonna do the same move as earlier on turn 13. Going on very deep, trying to dive. No, it doesn't go for it. That was very tempting. I think I would have done that. It made me crash because I'm not that good in the Hypercars.
Still quite a few car lengths between them, so.
Yeah. See, I think Niklas has gone into his groove. He's getting faster and faster.
Ooh, bit of a mistake.
And maybe he's going for it. Yep, it's the time.
that will open the door for sure down into turn 1. I don't believe this is going to be too difficult for Nicholas, although that Porsche, it's still... I don't know if Nicholas is running way more downforce than everybody else or what. It gets on the brakes really, really late. You could see the rear wiggling a little bit as the car was protesting slightly, but Nicholas able to just judge that perfectly and was able to get out in front. So quite a good move there, in fact, despite the what looked like a pretty significant straight line advantage for the Porsche there. That might be a quirk of the balance of performance, or it might just be that ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄ is running a lot more downforce than everybody else.
As we may have saw the next target of Niklas, so Alexander van der Water, which is P8. Maybe, who knows, maybe Niklas is on a run, maybe he's trying to get P1 from, I don't know, P9. Why is this so far? What's happening?
I mean, it's not getting very close to the leader. I mean, RK is still pulling away from everybody quite quickly, but is working their way back up to sort of those mid top 10 positions, sort of like on their way to, as you said, Van der Bood, maybe that fight with Sarah and Christian Klippert up there in P6, P7 if they end up fighting a lot. I mean, Van der Bood is not too far from the two of them. It's just over a second at this point, as Jordan is continuing on in the Lamborghini SC63 at this point, is still quite far from RK, and I think is probably going to have to do quite a bit to close that gap down. Although the gap has closed down a little bit, and it looks like in turn Jordan is pulling away from Luis Alfonso, the lap time between them about half a second faster. So Alfonso dropping away from the top two here a little bit, as Parker Olsen is also dropping away from P3 as well. So everybody kind of spacing out a little bit more, as you would expect. The sort of pace differences turning into just distance between all of these cars. So the race has settled down a little bit here, but they could come back together once we get into pit stop territory.
I think I'm starting to get a glimpse of some driver's strategy, because I'm looking at RK at the moment, which is, he is at 50% virtual energy going on at the moment. There's 35 minutes left of the race. I'm wondering if maybe Jordan Johnson isn't going, for a little bit of lift and coast to keep that bit of virtual energy and maybe doing a no stop. I don't think that would be possible. There's also another car, Alexander van der Water, he's actually at 53%. I think he might be able to do a no stop.
Sorry, who was that on the 70%? Did you say?
53%, Alexander van der Water. I wonder if he's going to be able to do a no stop.
Oh geez, wow. I mean, these cars are designed to, on full fuel, they'll run for about 45 to 50 minutes. So it would be absolutely incredible if somebody would manage to save enough fuel to last all the way. As we have a brief yellow flag there, it looked like, but has since been cleared. We're back to green flag running, and yeah. So basically, it's I think that it would be just way too tall of an order for somebody to no stop this, but definitely the less fuel that you have to, the less virtual energy that you have to take on in the pit stop, it does get quite a bit faster, because the virtual energy is what controls how long you stay in the pits for, not necessarily the amount of fuel that you take. You could completely take all the fuel that you need to finish the race and still have to sit in your pit box, because you have to wait for the virtual energy to fill up, and the speed at which it fills up is also dictated by the balance of performance. So if you're able to take less fuel than other people around you, that can translate into quite a bit. And it also depends on whether anyone decides that they want to take either rear tires or left tires, or even if they want to take all four. If that'll take a lot more time. It'll be about 12 seconds extra in the pits if they do take tires. I don't imagine that anybody is going to do that, but we'll see what happens.
As we now see Fury April following Keol and Mooney, trying to maybe get a piece of that. Oh no, that was the opposite, was it? No, that was Fabio following Ferry. I think I did a bit of an oopsie. So that was Fabio following Ferry April, which on my HUD, Ferry April has 13% energy, which might be wrong because I see on the actual live stream, Ferry has more. So I think that's a game bug. Anyways, Fabio, he is less than a second away from Fury, maybe looking at in the next few laps at an overtake.
Yeah, I mean, definitely could be at this point. I mean, I think that the strategies are sort of starting to come together a little bit in terms of like, you know, we've had Newt down there circulating for quite a while now at this point in open air. We'll see how that turns out for them. It could end up being a really, really good strategy. They're about 10 seconds off of Blade Wolf there in P17. So yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see how far up they end up once everybody else pits. The pit cycle might take quite a while for them to actually get through. I didn't exactly time it out on Newt's pit stop, but depending on the amount of virtual energy that they take, they could be stationary for somewhere in the realm of 30 to 40 seconds, also depending on tires as well. And then you have to, you know, trundle up the pit lane and trundle down the pit lane. So it does take some time, and we'll have to keep an eye on the sort of gaps, especially the gap to the leader at this point, where they're able to end up.
I'm rather curious of how all the pit stops are gonna go, because LMU is one sim where you have actual contact in the pit lane. So even the pit box has contact. So it means that we may see some weird stuff going on. I wouldn't say I'm quite looking forward to it, because it's quite mean. I don't want to be mean to the drivers. But also, you know, it's the only sim that does the pit box contact thing, because iRacing only does the fast lane contact. And so
Yeah.
I wonder how the drivers are going to get used to it on their first race in this championship.
I will say that weird stuff is a very charitable way to say unsafe pit releases. The drivers have been informed that there is, you know, full contact enabled in the pit lane, and that they are responsible for any, you know, releasing their car as safely as they can. If any sort of contact happens in the pit lane, that will be a definite slap on the wrist for anybody who is responsible for that. So keep an eye on your rear mirror, and make sure that you don't pull out in front of someone, which if everybody starts to come into the pits at the same time, which I imagine that might happen, it could get quite chaotic down there in a hurry. So on board again with ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄOʀᵉ here in the number 46 Ferrari, still chasing the Alpine of Alexander Van der Wood here, but is getting a decent amount closer at this point. Has pulled away about 3 seconds from Vossi down in P10, so doesn't have to worry about defending at all anymore. Can just keep going on the attack and keep going on this charge that they've been on basically since lap whatever it was, 6 or 7. That sounds about right to me.
As we see Nicholas maybe getting a dive. He tried to get a dive. I saw the little, you know, the little going to the right and then forget about it. As we see Alexander Van der Wood maybe sliding a little bit out of the corner, that might be Nicholas' chance to get P8 as they go down the straight.
Apparently all Nicholas needs to wait for is for somebody to make a mistake down into the last corner, and then they could get the that looked like almost a carbon copy of the move that they made on Vossi earlier. So yeah, I mean, just following closely behind another car, especially in cars that require as much skill as this, is it looks like Alexander is going to try to come back at it. They're going to go side by side. But I think that Nicholas is just a little bit too far in front now and shuts that door quite firmly. So up comfortably into P8 at this point. But definitely, like, you can't underestimate the power of just following closely behind someone and just putting that pressure on them, because it makes it so much harder for them to, if they're focusing on you, they're not focusing on their driving. And in these cars, any sort of lapse in concentration can really mess you up, especially if you're watching for a move into a braking zone and you're not focused on the thing that you should be focused on in a braking zone, which is your braking.
I'm wondering if Newt didn't do a mistake by pitting early, because it appears that he is behind the wall that is Blade Wolf. Right when I say that, he overtook
a little bit too far there, so Blade Wolf's gonna get it back, it looks, or maybe not.
Maybe not. No, the position is kept. So Newt overtook Blade Wolf, right? As I say, Blade Wolf is a wall. That has to be the opposite of the commentator's curse. I mean, that is the commentator's curse for Blade Wolf then. Oh.
Exactly.
So,
well, still making progress,
though. Newt did a good choice of pitting early, because now he can. He's quite stuck in all the traffic, because now everyone can defend from him. As Denak sends me commentator's blessings.
The commentator's blessing for sure on the Alpine of ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄOʀᵉ here, and I mean, it's looking fairly good so far. It could be doing a lot better, or excuse me, of Newt down there in P15, P14. It's going to be ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄOʀᵉ in the Aston Martin Valkyrie, who will be Newt's next target. Why did I get those two mixed up so much? Yeah, we'll see if the Valkyrie is able to do anything about this charge here. Not currently in range remotely. Still has about 10 seconds to make up before that point. But we'll have to see if the gap is going to come down to those front runners. And I mean, at this point, it kind of looks like Newt is going to catch up basically right when the pit cycle happens. I think drivers should be running fairly low on fuel at the moment, most of them in the sort of 30 to 33, 35% range, it looks like right now. Alexander Verdewood still up there in with 36%, is currently the most energy out of everybody who's pitted so far, or everybody who hasn't pitted so far, excuse me. So definitely doing a really good job saving that fuel. Could stay out for maybe an extra lap or so, probably no more than an extra lap, and perhaps miss the chaos in the pit lane that is sure to unfold, and potentially have a much smoother time of it.
Oh, talking about blessings, that might be a blessing to him, avoiding all the chaos inside the pit lane. As we see, Gvik the fries, because I know Gvik likes fries very much. As we see Gvik rolling around at the speed of sound behind Sarah. Sarah, who I noticed, she has 3 mediums and 1 hard on the front left of the car, which is that is unusual. When I see the other cars, everyone's on mediums.
Yeah, everybody looks to be on full mediums, but that front left does get the brunt of the punishment around here at Bahrain. So I don't think it's a bad strategy at all. I think especially for like longer endurance type races where you are actually changing the tires, it can be really, really helpful to have that Sarah going off track there a little bit and letting the Toyota through. But yeah, I think that just having that little bit of extra life on the front left while having mismatched tires there can definitely it can definitely make it a little bit tricky when you are sort of trying to turn right really hard. You can start to understeer quite a bit if you sort of have mismatched compounds like that. But sort of once you're settled in, it can be really, really nice to just have that little bit of insurance, that little bit of extra life in the front left, and potentially as the race goes on, you could even start to be a little bit better in terms of grip than the folks around you. So I like it.
It's all about pushing. It's all about getting the front left to pace. If you can get a little bit more of the front left by going on hards, then do it. It's much faster. What I'm seeing at the moment is quite interesting. So Newt was P4 after the pit stop, right?
That sounds right to me. Yeah, I think right ahead of Parker.
So Chris has gone into the pits while we were talking a little bit earlier, and he's now in front of Newt. What happened? I think what I said earlier is happening at the moment, that Newt got blocked a little bit in the traffic with people defending, and so Chris is now P13, Newt is P15, so Chris is now in front of Newt.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
It's
the way
quite
things shake
logical.
out sometimes. It's just a matter of how good you are with that traffic. I think Newt was probably expecting to have a much easier time of it than they ended up having. In fact, might not have anticipated having to go through traffic at all. But definitely with sort of some of the drive-throughs that we've been seeing, the sort of the first back markers are quite a bit further back than they typically would be if everybody was just running line astern pretty much. So I think I think Newt might have just miscalculated a little bit. I mean, even got back up into the pack, might have underestimated their pace a little bit on in that fresh air, or compared to the rest of the field, and just had to do a little bit more work than they were expecting.
As we hear some of that V12 going around Bahrain, driven by Inigo Lopez in P14. P14 being between Chris and Newt. Huh. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone's going around at their pace. Everyone is in, is quite consistent. I didn't see a lot of crashes here and there. There was a yellow flag here and there. We saw Sarah earlier going out of the track. In the top 3, however, RK is getting a monster. What's this gap? RK has a 10-second gap between him and Jordan Johnson. He's just in his world now.
Really haven't seen a lot of RK since the start of this race. Although I think RK gave us quite enough entertainment to be rewarded with a little bit of relaxation at this point now, as we are going to count down all the way those 11.5 seconds down to Jordan, who is currently lapping the back markers. So that looks like a spinning in the background there was one of those back markers. I think it was April down there, and now in P19, so is going to have to try to make up some places here and just try to rejoin the track safely, which is kind of tough in this high-speed section. Getting a little bit close to the ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄOʀᵉ but managed to thankfully keep it out of the way.
It's pretty clean for the most part. We saved Jordan, as we say. We are on Jordan Johnson's view, actually, now currently overtaking a blue flag, which is a Gvik. And, well, he is quite in a no man's land going on at the moment. And there's 11 seconds between him and RK in P1, and then 6 seconds between him and ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄOʀᵉ, which he is in P3. So yeah, no man's land, good thing, because it doesn't have to suffer the dirty air of any other car in front of him. But it's also quite annoying because, well, you can't get into the slipstream of any car. You need to get into the slipstream of blue flag cars, but they leave you the space for you to overtake them.
Worth noting, I think, that RK does have about 4% less energy than Jordan does, so
He's
that
pushing.
could play into it slightly. RK has kind of been pushing quite hard here for to be able to just sort of like make that gap as wide as possible. I think it's going to be. There's going to have to be some kind of mistake in the pit stop, or like, because RK can almost at this point take a free set of medium tires with the gap that they've created. So it's definitely pretty significant at this point. So we'll see what happens when it comes to pit time, and it's going to be that's not too far away for most of our folks. We've had a couple of other pitters now. With Zrajek in P15 ending up behind Newt, so that's at least another car that Newt doesn't have to overtake, and a few more pitters as well that we've gotten as well. So still quite a bit to do for our front runners here, but they are getting into that zone where they're going to have to start thinking about it.
I wonder how it's gonna go for the next tracks, because as we said at the start of the race, I mean at the start of the session even, Bahrain hasn't been raced a lot around Simufur, except, you know, the first F1 championship that I didn't get to see because I wasn't there at Simufur, and you weren't either.
Nope.
But the next tracks are tracks that the Simufur people know much better. So for the round 2, we have Kota, which is a track that has been run quite a lot here because it's on ACC and we do most of the time ACC championships. But round 3s will also be interesting because it's Lusail, it's Qatar. No one knows Qatar, I think. It's not even on iRacing.
It's not
So that will be
really
the
anywhere,
first.
I think, other than this game, and you know, the F1 sim, obviously. But yeah, that's another one of those West Asian tracks that really, aside from Formula One and you know, WEC now at this point, doesn't really get a whole lot of attention from various series. So we'll see what happens when we get there. Yeah, a little bit more familiar territory once we get into the later rounds, is where, you know, we're gonna get to Fuji at one point. We're gonna get to Spa. We can't have a series without Spa, obviously. So,
I'm not biased,
yeah.
but-
So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But Parker up there in P4, it looks, especially with Newt kind of languishing down in P13 at this point, it looks like it's probably going to be a fairly safe position for Parker Olsen at this point, who has been steadily pulling away from the SADA of Tyler Van Beek for the last couple of laps or so at this point, about 3 seconds between them. As it actually looked like Tyler made up a little bit of time there in that first bit there, as Parker goes a bit wide of turn 1. That's not going to help their lap time very much, I would say.
3 seconds gap between Tyler and Parker. Now, I wonder how that's going to go because, well, there's, as you said, there's Newt. There's also Chris that it's one of Newt, I want to add. So I think we're going to get a little bit of pit drama, as I said earlier. But everyone's getting, as we see Sarah and Tyler fighting each other with...
Oh, jeez, where is that
Sarah?
BMW going?
That isn't the track.
That's
That
not the
isn't
track.
at all. Oh, what's happening? Oh no, that was a blue flag. That's why I was confused a little bit. Okay, so Sarah was a blue flag. That's why. That wasn't the Sarah I was thinking of. I was thinking of, you know, the Porsche Sarah, but that wasn't the Porsche Sarah.
Right, this is Sarah Embers here, who is circulating in P18 in that art car BMW. So, is actually looks like they're going to get lapped by the other Sarah quite soon here. So.
I wonder how it's gonna go. I mean, that's a blue flag. What I'm saying? What am I saying? That's a blue flag. As we
You know,
see
they're
here-
not going to really have a whole. You go ahead.
No. Go with it. Go with it.
They're not going to have a whole lot of time. This is about as late of a pit stop as we usually kind of expect from Simufur races, because usually we have that pit window that ensures that everybody is going to be done at least at the 20-minute mark, but usually around the 30-minute mark is when most people come in. LMU does not have a pit window, so we only have, we have less than 15 minutes left in this race. And most of the field is not pitted yet. So once we get back out on track after the pits, we're only going to have a few laps left to sort of sort things out, as Sarah's going quite far off the track again, just making sure that that they get out of the way as much as humanly possible for Sarah Van Fiepelen there. So yeah, and Sarah's now free to chase after Tyler once again, about 2 seconds still between them. So we'll see how things shake out, but if people are able to sort of grab any positions off of people in the pits, they have a much better chance at being able to hold on to it, given that there's probably only going to be like 10 minutes left in the race by the time they get back out.
It's getting quite stressful, because on my HUD, I'm seeing all those red things popping up because everyone is getting quite low in their virtual energy battery, or what I can say, the virtual battery, since it's virtual energy, with RK being at the lowest at 4% now, so might be time to pit soon-ish.
And he's coming in.
Not pitting. That was right on time. So we're seeing the leader pit, and I think Jordan Johnson then might be pitting.
Jordan's gonna go for one more.
Yeah. a lap later. Meanwhile, the Isota of Tyler Van Beek is at 10%, and the Alpine of Alexander van der Woerden is still at the top of the virtual energy thing at 13%.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll keep an eye on the times. It looks like RK is done now, the first of our pitters, so thankfully avoids any of that nonsense as we see some more Ferraris filtering into the pit lane now. That's going to be Parker Olsen and Zahn there, who is actually right behind Parker Olsen. So this could be a really good sort of gain in positions for them as Fury April gets past the Peugeot there, up into P19. That's JPEG Fox up there circulating in the 2024 Peugeot up in P20 at this point. But yeah, it's going to be, we're going to start to see them, tumble into the pits now at this point, I think.
Peugeot, my boy. So Fury April P19 that has, I think, already done their pits. Yes, with 29% energy going on at the moment. So what I'm seeing is Vossi getting out of the pits, and I don't think there's anyone else entering the pits at the moment. So there wasn't any drama in the pit lane, which I'm quite sad because we need to show that to the stream people. But no, there weren't any drama. Looks like everything went fine in the pit lane. So oh, and I'm seeing Jordan Johnson that just spun at the last turn. Just spun.
That was didn't just spin. I think they were stuck behind Blade Wolf for sort of trying to get into the pit lane, and ended up giving them a little bit of a bump in the rear, and that was enough to upset the car, enough to give them a spin. So they're probably carrying at least a little bit of damage here at this point, but that actually might give Luis Alfonso a chance to get out in front of Jordan now at this point, because Alfonso was able to get into the pits first and is filling faster at this point. We'll see how the release goes. It looks like Alfonso is out now, and Jordan is still stationary, and actually I think has just gotten out of their box, is getting out of their box now. So Luis Alfonso now has almost a 2 second, it's going to turn into a bigger gap than that once they hit exit, but that's quite a setback there for Jordan.
And Jordan didn't repair his front end damage.
It was probably minor enough.
Yeah, it's quite weird seeing such a gap being made, even though Jordan Johnson didn't repair anything at all. Maybe, I wonder if that's a tire change. I wonder if Jordan Johnson didn't do a tire change without wanting to. That might be the case. Would it take? I think it would take much more time.
It would take like 12 seconds. They would be. I think it would be much farther back than he is right now, which I mean still has a lot of ground to make up. Is gonna get a few more positions because the likes of Tyler and Alexander van der Woerden and Calvin Mooney and Fabio Saul in front have not pitted yet, so they might get into probably it's going to end up being P4 at the end of all this, which is not where they want it to be.
With 10 minutes left, we are entering the last 10 minutes of the race. As you said, with 4 people still needing to pit. I think there are more in the rear of the pack, such as Blade Wolf with 5% and Swingley with 8%. But yeah, everything has been running quite fine, and I'm expecting maybe a little bit more overtakes in the pit lane, because, well, seeing how that happened with Jordan Johnson, maybe that's going to happen with a few other drivers.
Right. Tyler's in now. Alexander van der Woerden is going around for one more, it looks like. Colin Mooney is coming in. Fabio's coming in. So that's going to be at least a few positions here for Jordan that they're going to be able to get to take. But yeah, well, I want to see how this ends up working out for Alexander, because they've been really on just saving as much fuel as humanly possible. Has done a really good job of it, and that should turn into positions for them later on down the line if they got it right. But yeah, it's looking like our order is pretty much as it is, except that it looks like Tyler has actually exited the pits in front of Parker Olsen. So so Parker's lost that sort of virtual P4 to Parker, it looks like, and Jordan is going to end up in P3 after Alexander pits. So not down in P4. At least we'll get a podium position out of this, but still, it's tough to lose that position.
So I know I'm talking quite a bit much about, you know, pit lane drama and stuff like that, but Tyler Van Beek actually got damage from an unsafe release. That just happened right in front of my eyes. I can't believe it. I just got what I didn't wish for, but it still happened. As we see Newt fighting with Vossi. Oh, so that's exactly what I said would happen. Newt being stuck behind all the other cars because of the traffic from pitting early. So that's a shame, because that would have been a potential podium that is so there's a full course yellow going on at the moment, and we are under full course yellow at 7.
Oh my god, Alexander is in the pits with the full course yellow. They're gonna get so many positions out of this.
No way.
Incredible luck. It's going to be ending fairly soon, but that's still going to be really, really good for them. I think Jordan is still going to be able to get out in front, or maybe not. We'll see how this ends up working out. I think they're going to filter in behind. Yeah, it looks like it, but that's going to be...
Oh,
no, wow. Actually, Alexander Van Hood is up into 3rd place with an incredibly timed full course yellow, slowing everybody else on the track down to 60 kilometers per hour right when Alexander got into the pits, and that got them way up the order.
Oh, there's no way I just saw that happening. There's no way. This was right on time. As we are watching, actually, we are showing Jordan Johnson being behind Alexander Van der Woerden, which was, I don't know, maybe less than 10 positions behind a few seconds ago before the pit stops.
And now it's up to Alexander to defend for their life for 5 minutes against an esports driver. We'll see how this goes for them in the Alpine. The Alpine versus the Lamborghini here at this point. Jordan's already very, very close. I don't know how hard Alexander's going to fight this, but if I were them, I would be giving it all I got.
Maybe, yeah, because getting a podium out of that would be magnificent.
Yeah, come on.
That would be magnificent. Please defend, Alexander. Please defend. Please go on with it.
Incredible scenes around Bahrain.
Show the Alpine prestige.
We do have, our top 5 is 5 different manufacturers, which is really nice to see. I do really appreciate that, actually. I think we're usually really good here at Simufur about, drivers tend to pick their favorite cars and not just, the ones that are the fastest. So it's really nice to just see that manufacturer variety that we are enjoying so much in the real life world endurance. So that's going to be a pretty big dive there from Jordan. Alexander is going to bump into them a bit, trying to get to the apex, and they are not going to be happy about that, unfortunately. I think they probably felt like Jordan might have forced them through a little bit, but honestly, we'd have to see a replay, I think, but I think from a steward's perspective, that kind of felt like Alexander just kind of turning into an apex there that was pretty firmly Jordan's at that point. It was a bit of a dive, but I think Jordan was able to sort of get on the brakes enough, and got the car stopped and was really tidy around the apex there. So, in my mind, that was a pretty valid move, I think.
I guess I'll see afterwards if it gets reported. I'll have to see the move by myself. But I think I would have. I wouldn't be mad being overtaken anyways, because the position gain is so high. Being P4, I wouldn't complain. You're still out of the podium, but you still get so many positions. I would take the L against Jordan.
Oh, down into turn 10 is Adrian trying to shake for a move on Vossi here, and that ended up being almost on, but didn't quite have the grip to get it done. It looks like they might be able to get it done down into the following turn here, turn 11, but no, Vossi's doing a really, really good job defending this at this point. This might be the last little position that we still have to figure out here. I think most everybody else is pretty much spread out at this point. Tyler might get onto the back of Alexander for P4 by the end of the race, but yeah, I don't remember exactly where Alexander was before the pit and that full course yellow happened, but like it should have been at least probably like a 5 or 6 positions that they gained off of that.
I think that was.
Oh, good lord.
2 minutes and 43 seconds left, which is like 1.5 lap. I think that's 1.5 lap.
That sounds right.
That has to be P1 confirmed for RK, 22 seconds in front. As we see Newt still chasing Vossi, maybe getting the position out of those two 1.5 lap. What do you think?
I mean, it would have to be a lot, I think, because the tires are quite worn at this point. It's been by the end of this, it's going to have been a stint and a quarter basically for these drivers. I'm not sure exactly where that's going to shake out in terms of like overall tire wear, but definitely it's going to mean that there's a lot less grip available to the cars to make overtaking moves around here. So it's going to be probably easier to defend than to attack at this point in the race. So I'd say that Vossi is probably has the advantage here to hold on to P9, but obviously it's one little mistake can change all of that, as we've seen many times throughout this race.
Vossi is a pretty fierce defender as we go into the last lap, because RK just went through the start-finish line. So we are onto the last lap with, I think we can already say that RK1, seeing how far it is. It's 24 seconds. I think even if something bad happens, I think he's going to get the W anyways.
Very much a victory lap here at this point for RK, as it's not going to be quite as comfortable here for Vossi. They're heading on to the start-finish straight for the final lap here. This would be Newt's best chance for the rest of this race, and they look like they're pretty close right now. Getting closer, in fact, is that Alpine on the Porsche. We've seen the Porsche straight line speed be pretty good, but that slipstream is proving to be pretty strong. It looks like Newt's going to just hang back here and try to make that move happen somewhere else on the racetrack, as they probably should. Taking a little bit of a wider line out of turn 1 there, just trying to get as much speed as possible here down that straight, but I think that's not going to be enough to get the move done down at turn 4, as Kelly is rounding out the penultimate corner here on the racetrack onto the back straight, is cruising towards a win in the first round of the Simufur Hypercar Championship. Our very first LMU win will belong to RK as they round out the corner. No spins, no nothing, just a straight line from here to the checkered flag, and they're going to cross the line. 1 second to spare.
Is it checkered?
Is it checkered? I think we're still
checkered.
going. So we got 34 laps instead of 33 because RK crossed the line with 1 second left on the timer, and that means that we will go for 1 more lap. So that also means that Newt is going to get 1 more chance at Vossi here.
With 25 seconds on P2, I think you could have lifted a little bit to at least finish the race. But no, you're gonna go on. You're gonna keep it on. Stay
Absolutely
P1.
not. RK's enjoying driving this car. They want to drive it more.
That gives another lap for Newt to fight against Vossi.
Exactly. It still looks like the gap is about the same between the two of them. It's coming down a little bit, it looks like, about 3.5 tenths, as it's going to be really, really close between the Porsche and the Alpine here, or the Toyota and the Alpine here. This is going to be who's going to be fighting for this?
It's Fabio.
I think that's going to be
Camille.
Fabio Andrade. Yeah, so this is the fight for P12 here at this point. They're onto the back straight at this point. And I think they're also going to get 1 more lap, given that they're so far away.
Yeah.
This is this is not going to be their last lap. It is going to be the last lap for anybody who is at the moment. ᵐnUn𝒹 is going to get alongside here, heading into the S's, which is not a place where you want to get alongside, but I think they are just going to manage to keep it clean, and both of them spin a perfectly synchronized spin as they try to get back on the road, and I think ᵐnUn𝒹 is probably going to have to give that position back. RK crosses the line, is not aware of any of this happening. It's been a very boring race for RK, but they crossed the line to become the first winner for real this time in the Simufur Hypercar Championship.
I think the incident between ᵐnUn𝒹 and ᵐnUn𝒹 will end in the stewarding office.
ᵐnUn𝒹 is holding on to the positions, so
yes. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes afterwards as we see.
Clearly
Lewis
ᵐnUn𝒹 didn't think that was their fault.
Oh, that is an assumption. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna say anything. As we see everyone hitting up the start-finish line.
Yeah, Sarah Van Fiepelen crossing the line in P7 there, so ended up only gaining one position from where she started, but still a pretty good drive for them. ᵐnUn𝒹 gets out. That was really, really close across the line. I'm not sure who finished ahead there.
Did I just see someone disappear?
Could have been.
I think I just saw someone disappear. What's happening?
And that's ᵐnUn𝒹 crossing the line there in front of ᵐnUn𝒹 in P10, so that's our top 10. ᵐnUn𝒹 getting back up to P8, a pretty good recovery from them. But we'll see how that incident shakes out between ᵐnUn𝒹 and ᵐnUn𝒹. I'm sure they're probably going to be taking a look at that. We have a few folks still waiting to cross the line here. Sarah Embers is still waiting to do that. But for the most part, our top 10 is set. Our top 11 is set now as Callum Mooney crosses the line in P11 in that BMW, the top BMW finisher in this race, so a good job to them.
And I think everyone has officially finished. So everyone is back into their pit boxes, and we will show the results in a bit. That was a pretty nice race.
What a wild race.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I liked it. Very close. Everything was so close. I mean, except RK, because RK has to flex it. But apart from that, I'm very much surprised that you can get quite a few moves from the pit lane. But yeah, no, very good race. Loved it.
Yeah, RK and Jordan giving us quite a treat in the first couple of laps of that race as well. I mean, it was just, I'm really, really proud of all of our drivers for having gotten to grips with these cars so quickly. They are very, very difficult to drive. I'm sure it probably doesn't look it for us in the commentators booth, but these are extremely difficult cars to get to grips with. And I think the fact that everybody sort of kept it so clean. I think we had relatively few incidents in that one. So I'm really proud of our drivers for all the practice that they've put in, for just giving us a real show here today. It was a lot of overtaking, a lot of strategy. It's just like wild things happening all over the racetrack, just throughout. It was a treat.
I wonder if that's going to happen in the next races. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's going to do it for us. We can check some replays, which we might have queued up from our broadcaster Denak at the moment. But it looks like we're not going to be able to get the sort of like final race results to you. But you'll be seeing that on our socials once the penalties are applied. Once everything is in, we'll be able to show you how things are looking on the points table. But it's definitely going to be a really, really strong start for RK, who is looking like a very early front runner in this one. Jordan as well, could occasionally take the fight to them in some places, but we'll see how everybody gets on with the different tracks. We've got the Circuit of the Americas coming up, which I know is not everyone's favorite, especially yet another telcodrome. We we just got finished that one, and now we're going to another one. So we'll see how folks get on with that one, especially the sort of the real twisty bits in there. It's a lot of fun in the hypercars, given that you have all of that aerodynamic force available to you to really sort of chuck it through those sections. But definitely, it's not everyone's favorite. So we'll see.
I wonder. I know I'm talking about Spa. I'm Belgian, so I have to talk about it. I wonder how that's gonna happen. There's no rain planned for any of the races, so it's supposed to be, quite drivable for every races. With Qatar being the only other night race, but everything is supposed to be a day race as well. So. I'm not. Did I tell you that I'm not fond of Kota? I'm not fond of Bahrain. I'm not fond of Kota. I'm not fond of Qatar. Good thing it's not me that's doing the race.
Yeah, we just get to have fun up here watching it. So that's all good for sure.
It's fun to watch. I don't like driving it. I'm sorry.
It's fun to watch.
My cup of tea.
So I think we're going to be getting a replay of the Newt incident first and foremost, which I know we talked about a little bit when it happened. So yeah, so it looks like Newt is able to get a much better exit here out of turn 4, and then they're just trying to go side by side here. I mean, to a certain extent, I think Newt kind of left as much space as they could there at that point. I think ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄ was just trying to get on the power a little bit too much, but yeah, we can see where sort of the point of contact happened. I think it was right around sort of the exit of this section. They kept it really, really clean through these, first little S's here. But I don't know. What do you make of this?
I'm surprised that's the only contact we had at that point, because when you are fighting, this is quite a dangerous spot to be in, especially if you are on the inside with a car on the outside. It's pretty much... There's a high chance you might, bump into them like that just happened. I'm surprised that was the only contact at that spot, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, they were definitely giving each other plenty of space before that. I think Newt probably just left a little bit less than a car's width on the exit there, and that was most likely what caused it. I think ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄ was expecting a little bit more room there, but yeah, that's racing sometimes. It's tough.
Yes, and honestly, okay, I may regret it. That maybe Bahrain is nice, maybe a little bit.
You've come around,
maybe just a tiny bit.
I like this track. Like, I can't.
It was nice to watch. There was action, pit lane action as well, because I didn't expect so many changes in the pit lane and all, but. Yeah, especially with a new series on a new sim with new cars, it was kind of everything was new. Everyone was kind of discovering how it goes, except the LMU, the people that usually drive LMU. But yeah, no, honestly, liked it, loved it. I wouldn't call it 10 out of 10 because it's still Bahrain, but.
my first like special event that I did in this game was I think it was either 90 minutes or 2.5 hours at this track in the hypercar, and that was a lot of fun. So I think I have a bit of a soft spot for it. If it was anywhere else in the world, I think I would like it more, but I'll be happy with having it here. It has more of the energy of these sort of like European tracks than I think a lot of the other ones do. It has a little bit more flavor to it. I think it's not totally sauceless.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's going to do it for us at the Bahrain International Circuit. That I love, and maybe some other people might also be loving too. We'll be back. We'll be back in a week's time with Circuit of the Americas. We are traveling across the world, and we're going to take the hypercars around Austin, Texas. So please come back and join us there. We'll see how this championship continues to shake out as we get deeper into the rounds. And thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Kady Timberfox once again. This is ᵐnUn𝒹ₑRsᴄ beside me, and Denak in the broadcast booth. Good night.